Greetings, my friends. This is Maerlande. Once again, another turn for Tactical Briefing 3 and turn number 41. We can see here in turn number 41 things carry on as they were the last few turns. Again, a little bit of summoning, some filling in of gaps of site searching and some manual searching. As far as the action goes, it's a little battle here in Molten. We took out some province defense. You can take a quick look. Molten's right over here. So we're just trying to finish off these bits and pieces of Vanheim's territory. Vanheim's down to this province here in 33, Rafabolia, province here in 18, Mir. And given this big horde of Abyssians coming this way, I'm going to leave 18, see what he does. If he backs away, then we'll go get it. As well as, you can see I'm bringing up troops in many directions, reinforcing here. I've paused for a site search before I move on, and I'm trying to crack the fort. So back to messages, lots of blood hunting, moving slaves around. Vanheim made one more attempt to maybe get a little bit of attrition. I have a quick look. I clearly grabbed a lodestone amulet, so that Vanheim was slightly thugged up. Let's hit the pause and zoom in. Here, what have we got here? Oh, that's it. Nothing much. Oh, I see. Fatigued and diseased and a chest wound and 5 hit points left. Yeah, I could see why he attacked. I'm not going to watch that fight. Not enough to it to care. And Giant's Rest. This one had had an attack by Independence previously, so I just grabbed it quickly with a scout. That might annoy some of the folks around, and I'd have to back up to figure out who owned it before. But it's not of great concern to me. Moving around, you can see moving dudes around, doing some scouting, some site searching, and it's a pretty basic turn. I have nothing in particular to discuss out of this turn, so I think we'll quickly move on to turn number 42, and have a look at the action there. Just before I started up this video, I had a quick look, and it's pretty basic. Okay, so I've decided to crank up my summons to a serious amount. Jaguar Fiends, or Ocelotls, Jaguar Toads. I kind of like those toads. Let's take a quick look at why. Okay, give me the T key. There we go. Okay, so what we've got is 21 hit points, very little protection. Magic resist is pathetic, and they're undisciplined. But they've got a poison spit, and you can stick them up and soak up some casualties and hope that the guys will burn some units on them. And the cost is pretty darn trivial. Let's have a quick look here. Jaguar Toads cost a single nature gem, so I think that's a pretty good buy. Jaguar Fiends we know about. Those are those flying sacred Ocelotls. And the Jaguars, which I've had good success with. I could summon those Jaguars with my new Howlies. And again, they're sacred, undisciplined and so on, decent morale, pair of attacks, really good attack skill, and high strength. So they do chew things up. And again, they're blessed. Now, if I start meeting up with things with magic resist negates type spells, which so far nothing, if I do, I'm not going to be wanting to use things like that. I'm going to have to stick with my summons and my real Jaguar warriors. But it's a great way to make some dudes. You can also see I've got huge gem stockpiles. I'm just sitting on them until I have something really needful to do. Looking at research, so you can see I'm filling in some gaps, get some basic alteration, and I intend to move on in blood magic. Beyond that, I cracked the fort in Vanheim, and I see that my friends are attacking, so, well, not really my friends. I didn't have formal agreements with anybody, but let's have a look-see and see what Abyssia is doing. Okay, there's that big horde of burning ones and killing some PD. I'm not going to bother watching that. There just isn't enough there to worry about. We have a sneaking enemy. Let's see what we spotted. It's probably a scout, most likely. Somebody scouting my capital. And sure enough, it's a Vanheim scout. So, it's a goner. We'll not worry about that. There's not much chance of folks scouting my lands with all the patrollers I've got going. In special events, Oh, that's an unpleasant one. Delbrithia. Over here. Well, it's still decent. We can hunt that province. And other events. Another, well, sort of a mixed bag on that one. Resources aren't terribly useful to me, but loss of 20 population is pretty much trivial. And some unrest and an increase in magic. So, for turn 42, there really isn't much left to look at. Folks who are really interested in the micro details can take a look at my save games, check out how I've set up the blood hunting. I'm going to quickly move on to turn number 43. And we've got some action here. So, battle at the Fortress of Vanheim. And that was it. We took it. You can see losses were pretty minimal. Pretty cheap way to get about going through that. Found a fire in a jar and a water lens and a girdle of might. And we killed his god. Again, some summons, some searching, and lots of slaves being found. We got that alteration done. We're going to move on a little higher in alteration. So let's watch the fight. He didn't have much in there. Last turn's report was 47 units. Mix of clockwork horrors and some other things. So right off the bat, I've got my fiery imps out front. I've got my jaguars out front. Because they're undisciplined, let's just let them terrorize and go ripping in. He's got his archer towers doing some arrows, and inside we've got some of his immortal boars, a few Vanjarls. That's just a herdman. This one here is a Vanjarl. A few gems on it. I bet you he's going to toss up some air elementals. He's got some wyverns. Not bad. They're expensive. I don't usually go for them. He's got some griffins. Pretty solid, but once again, the clockwork horrors, I think, should have been right up here at the gate. That's how I would have done it. And his idol of men, lots of magic, but he didn't give it any gems. So I'm not really sure what he intended to do with it. Let's watch the fight. We'll speed it up. So a little bit of losses coming. He's tossed up some buffs. Good batch of buffs. Air shields and so on. Okay, out come the flyers. Right on top of my jaguars, and I didn't get a chance to buff first. So that saved him some losses he would have taken otherwise. There's my divine blessing. Bloodlust. Help my demons out. Give them some more strength. Tossing out some protections. Wasn't expecting to see much in the way of fire spells. Pain's transfer. Well, that's not a bad choice. And some imps. So you can clearly see that the reason I brought along the slaves was to toss out some imps. And we got a little bit of evos coming. So tons of imps. Look at all those imps. That should tie them up in a great way. And there we go. So, bang. His flying squads, his first two flying squads are eliminated, and the battle's barely begun. The arrows are doing a little bit of damage to me. Oh, magma bolts, not a bad choice. And I was right. He tossed a couple of air elementals. But we can see with regen, some protection, bloodlust again. It's funny how it'll double cast something like that. And there go the imps, tearing him apart. In the gate, we could see that the jaguars are moving in, taking out those air elementals. And he's thugged up this Vanjarl. No, it's the herdman, the mounted herdman. Pretty basic. Sermon of Courage and a pile more imps. Oh boy, that's a lot of imps. Keep that going. Let's look at these clockworks quickly. Okay, they're at fatigue 660 already, so, well, at this rate, they've probably been killed before it would have mattered. One nice thing, I took the castle, so that's the end of the Fey Boars. Immortals always come back to life in the home castle. And the jaguars haven't been able to get through the gate. Pretty soon they should. There we go. My beast bats are a little bit stuck there, but at least the imps made their way in. So Banish is chewing up the imps some. Is there any more imps back there? Yep. Oh, there we go. There's the rest of the wyverns being chopped up by my jaguars. So while that had the potential to be pretty dangerous, didn't really do a heck of a lot. I think it's safe to say that this thing's a finished deal. But I do enjoy watching these. The imps are tearing up those cave drakes. I'm surprised he hasn't started running yet. Oh, one's running. And that's not going to do him too much good. So far the imps are doing most of the work. Not bad. I like imps. I mean, at 5 per slave, the cost is pretty cheap. And they have a decent attack. Not a heck of a lot of damage, but they do some, and they tie things up with their high defense skill. And they have good magic resistance, so they're quite robust when being banished. Ah, there we go, some shockwave. Well, that didn't hurt. It's going to take a little while to chew up that idol of men. High protection, pierce and blunt resistant. So, it's just going to take some pounding. Another shockwave. That's pretty much the end of the imps. But here come the jaguars, and they should finish off what little is left. Wow, those shockwaves are doing a number. 93, wow, it's almost done. And that's that, and he still hasn't routed. Shocking. That's the end. So that's turn number 43. Really isn't much else to talk about. Some basic kind of crappy events, fairly of relatively minor result. Now, the thing about events that change the scales, they just don't last that long. Your scales have a tendency, well, this one's a negative scale, it's not actually in my candles. So it's going to stabilize to probably what is Soromatia's scales, I'm guessing. It's possible it's Abyssea's scales. Once that happens, it'll stabilize that death out to whoever's. Well, given all the heat, I think that's Abyssea's. Let's see if we can see here. Yeah. Soromatia's got a little bit of cold, so that's Abyssea's scales. Similar to here, and Abyssea had death anyways, so I didn't get hurt too much by that little event. Alrighty. I'm going to call that done for this video. 3 turns, bang, bang, bang. And Vanheim is all but over. Now we move on to the next war. Take care, my friends. Goodbye.